Ladies and gentlemen, fellow engineers, good afternoon. It is my honor and my pleasure to introduce to you the first speaker of today's first session, first paper, is Engineer Razak Yakob. Razak has over 2 decades of experience in the oil and gas industry. He commenced his career as a drilling engineer with ExxonMobil after graduating from the prestigious Colorado School of Mines with a petroleum engineering degree. He later obtained an MBA from the University of Sunderland in the United Kingdom. In 2005, Engineer Razak transitioned into the realm of independent consultancy, where he has been actively engaged in a multitude of projects across different capacities. His primary areas of focus encompass engineering design, project management for drilling operations, and wells decommissioning. Engineer Razak plays a pivotal role as an advisor for the oil, gas, and mining technical division and serves as a council member of the Institution of Engineers Malaysia. He is also involved in various committees and task force with the Board of Engineers Malaysia, contributing his expertise to the advancement of engineering profession. Currently, Engineer Razak is the head of strategic growth at a leading technology company specializing in oil and gas upstream artificial intelligence and machine learning applications. In his capacity, he actively spearheads projects aimed at propelling digital transformation within the industry, leveraging cutting-edge technologies to drive innovation and operational excellence. Can you join me to give a big hand to welcome our first speaker, Engineer Razak? Welcome.
Thank you.
Oh, yes.
Okay. Assalamualaikum, and very, very good morning, or is this already an afternoon? I'm glad that I'm not standing in between lunch and also my talk. So, just calm yourself down, and I hope all of you will find this talk that I'm presenting interesting. Truth is, this topic is boring. Yeah, I know that for a fact because what happened was the company that I'm in, we do Uni Tech Talk, where we provide a series of talk to the university students for free. This particular topic actually rated to be the least number of registration. So, yeah. It is nerve-wracking to be on the stage with a big like this. Not many audience, but it is still quite nerve-wracking. So you can actually pretend to love my jokes and laugh with me. Thank you. All right. Cultural and organizational barriers in well digitalization. I would like to get my clickers so that it's easier for me to run through. Okay. The content of the talk that we will have today, I will give a little bit of introduction, and then we talk a little bit about oil and gas industry and well engineering. I know most of you over here are not from the oil and gas industry, so probably you would need a little bit of background information about oil and gas industry. And then we talk a little bit about digitalization. What is it about? I know this topic is about cultural and organizational barriers in implementing digitalization, but this topic actually will give you an insight into any of the industry that you are in whenever that you want to implement digitalization efforts, yeah? Either you are doing it for your organization or you are doing it for your client. Then we will dive deeper into the cultural and organizational barriers. What are those things? And then we talk a little bit about addressing how we want to address the issue, as well as taking a look at what kind of leadership that is required in order for us to actually be successful in implementing digitalization per se. What we are going through today is a little bit of research as well as work that I have done. I try to put everything together in 30 minutes, yeah? Okay, I have to mention about the company that I am in because I have to make sure that you all understand that this is based on the experience that we have in terms of implementing these efforts of digitalization into our client sites. So one of the biggest things that FAAZMIAR technology do is to bring values to our customers, as well as making sure that Malaysia goes into the developing, we want to be a technology developer instead of just technology user. Most of the ASEAN countries, we basically are technology users from UK, Europe, US, and so on and so forth. But this is a time that we want to actually put a little bit more effort into becoming a technology developer. That is one of the things that our company actually strive to do. So, Engineer Vincent has already talked a little bit about myself. So I put over there a picture of myself for a purpose. You won't be seeing me in my traditional costume on the last day because I didn't bring any. So probably you can see that that's how I look in the professional costume, in the traditional costume, yeah? And also people always say to me that I am photogenic. Probably that is a nicer way to actually tell me that I look ugly in person. But anyway, let's take a look at the topic itself. So when we talk about this topic, yeah, the methodology that was used to prepare this paper, yeah, we take a look at the problem statement. What exactly are those? Because whenever that we implement digitalization in our clients' sites, we do see these issues of cultural and organizational barriers. What are those? We will go deeper into that. And also, the need to understand this is to facilitate for a successful implementation for any industry per se, yeah? That's the reason why the work that I'm doing is not just based on experience, but also I look through the papers as well as work that has been done before in the literature review, so that we can see the issues are global. The issues are something that happens everywhere. And the paper objective is to basically identify these barriers, know that these barriers actually exist, and how basically we can mitigate these issues. Yeah? I tend to stand over here because there's a bigger crowd over here as compared to this side. So I would like to interact more with my audience. All right, so the findings, you will see the 5 areas that have been identified as the cultural and organizational barriers. Yeah? All right. Understanding what well engineering is all about goes back to when the first well was drilled in the 19th century. Um, we have a lot of key technological milestones that appeared in the oil and gas industry itself, in the well engineering itself. For example, like rotary drilling, some offshore platforms as well, how basically we want to design it and so on and so forth. So oil and gas industry and well engineering is not new to having new technology being introduced to us. However, we have to understand that in well engineering or the well operations itself, there's a lot of things that we have been doing for years, and we are so comfortable with having those work done. That's the reason why we find it hard to move to something new. I have tried to actually introduce new technology, for the past more than 20 years, and I have seen the same kind of issues years to years, but different kind of issues, different kind of things. However, they are the same cultural and organizational barriers. Yeah. And the whole idea of what we are trying to do over here, of course, is to increase the production as well as the organization profit. That is the main goal over here. And if we take a look at the definition of the importance of the modern the importance of digitalization to the modern industry, yeah? And this is not just applied to oil and gas or well engineering, well operations per se. It applies to all. And focus of well digitalization in the oil and gas industry sector is really important in order to make sure that we are able to provide better values to our clients. If we take a look further inside in terms of how the industry has progressed, yeah, we can't be doing the same thing again and again and expect that we will provide better value and we will gain profits. That will not happen. Something has to change. Something has to move along together with the movement of the world. Key technologies that we are looking over here in well digitalization is data analytics, IoT, automation, and also artificial intelligence. And we will talk a little bit more about that. Yeah, how well digitalization is optimizing. It is really important because for the oil and gas industry, we have so many segments, and in each segment, a different approach will need to be used. A little bit about well digitalization. In the well operations and well processes that we do, it needs to be done as a whole. We cannot move in the well digitalization at a certain segment. We need to do that as a whole. And our focus on the data analytics is really important. That is when you want to collect data, because everything about AI and machine learning, it's about data that you have. We need to make sure that we digitalize the data that we have for the past 20, 30 years. And yes, drilling has gone for more than 50, 60 years, 100 years per se, but those technology may not be very much relevant to what we are doing right now. That's why our focus, whenever that we want to digitalize the data, we want to bring in data, we want to bring in the most current data, and that spans about 20 to 30 years back. Yeah. Automation is really important because automation is when we want to make sure that we are able to control the operations and reduce human error. Realize over here I said reduce human error. We don't reduce the resources that we use, yeah? I always want to think that digitalization does not replaces us human, but it elevates our standing in the community, in the industry to the next level. And I think that is really important for everyone to realize that you know, even if we have robots, we still need human to do other parts. But how we want to do it, do we need to reskill? Those are the things that is part of this cultural and organizational elements that we are looking in today. Yeah? All right, Internet of Things is really important because this is where we bring in our sensors, because when we talk about drilling, yeah, we talk about making hole that is 3 kilometers, 5 kilometers below the formation, you know, below the earth surface, and we are not able to send any interns down the hole. I have never done that, but it is really important for us to do that. And artificial intelligence is where we want to bring in the algorithm to actually make the decision making. It is like bringing me into the computer so that I can think for the computer. And digital twin technology is also really important. Whatever that you see down the hole is something that I can see on the surface so that I can react immediately in the cases of needs. Yeah. And these are the 5 cultural and organizational barriers. You see C as cultural and O as organizational. Resistance to change, lack of digital skills, organization fragmentation, cultural norms, as well as legacy system. I will talk a little bit more about that. I do have 15 minutes to actually end my presentation right now. So resistance to change is really important because whenever that we take a look at our resources, yeah, industry has been there for years. So whenever that we take a look at how people work, they are so used to doing things manually, mechanically, machines. But what we want to do now is to make them realize that we can actually use, you know, computer to actually do all of those work. Lack of digital skills, the second part of it, lack of digital skill is where we take a look at the skill gap. As I mentioned before, digitalization does not replace human. It basically elevates us to the next level. And this is where we will need to bridge that skill gaps. And we do encounter challenges in the training as well as education because we want to make sure that everyone knows what to do, and most of the resources they don't have this capability at the moment. Yeah, adherence to the cultural norms. This is where in oil and gas industry, yeah, we basically have risk assessment for everything. Before we start any of the operations, we will have risk assessment. In fact, the most of the things that we have, like today, before we even start our program, I would have just brief you on the safety in the cases of emergency. Do you know where would you want to run? That way? That way? Do you know that? Were we briefed? That's the question. Because in oil and gas industry, all that are really important, yeah? So in order for us to change, it is something that we need to explain as well as risk assess prior to that. And the trust in machines. We have seen so many of our shows in Netflix, whatsoever, showing that machines take over human. Is it even possible? Probably. But is that something that we want to trust the machine to do it? I can tell you, after doing this for many, many years, I still do not have 100% trust on the computer, on the algorithm. I have to test it first. And this is one of the things that I would like to just show. Whenever that a drilling engineer works, we will need to actually take a look at all these charts. And we will need to take a look at these charts from different sources. So what well digitalization will do is to actually put all of this information together and analyze it for you for any kind of information that possibly will trigger any kind of alarm that failure may occur. So this is one of the major things that we do in order for us to actually reduce the issues that we have in whole. The same thing as well, rate of penetration. Do we want to drill fast or do we want to drill slow? Should we drill, much faster? That is the question. That is answered using these charts over here. Yeah. And the organizational part, organizational fragmentation is one of the things that is real. Yeah. Because large organization, for example, we do have different kind of departments. And in order for you to approach one department and make changes, you need to actually go to the next department to actually change that as well. Yeah, disconnected workflows between these departments is something that we want to take a look at. Reliance on legacy system. Okay, this is something that I would like to share as well. 20 years ago, I did brought in a system into an organization. And 20 plus years after that, I come back to the organization saying that your system is old. I would like to offer to, renew your system to the digitalization. Would you like to do that? But it will cost money. So this is an issue because reliance on the legacy system is something that any organization would have. Yeah. This is an example of the well life cycle. You realize over there at the bottom, you have different departments doing things, as well as you have different phases of wells, from exploration wells to development wells, well services, enhanced oil recovery, as well as well plug and abandonment. So when you want to have these processes done for the entire different departments, that is where the organizational barriers comes in. And this is a real-time operations. Realize that it is closed loop from the design all the way into the monitoring, into the alert system that we have. These are something that we will need to make sure that the organization is ready to actually have that. Yeah? All right, we have 9 more minutes. I will just breeze through and make sure that I meet the time. And this is an example of everything that we have right now is actually using your mobile phone. You monitor everything using your mobile phone. Are we ready to actually do that? Because previously, when I was a drilling engineer, I will have my boss calling me at 3 o'clock in the morning, asking me what is the status of the well. But right now, I hope that the boss will not call me at 3 o'clock because they can look at their own phone for the status, yeah? Because everything is digitalized. So cultural and organizational barriers, these are the 5 elements that I have talked about just now. And resistance to change, lack of digital skill, organizational fragmentation, cultural norms, as well as legacy system. So those 5 elements. If you would like to know further, if you don't find my presentation over here is adequate, you can always read the paper that I have wrote for this conference. Yeah. And addressing the issues. Whenever that we talk about the issues, we know that we need to talk about the how we want to address the issues. Change management does not mean that you change the people, but it's about engaging employees about the change that we need to do with digitalization. Yeah, clear communication is really important, and also if you take a look at the workforce development, we want to bridge the digital skills gap. That is the most important part, because we want to make sure that all of our resources is able to work on the new system that we have. This is where we want to promote the culture of continuous learning, where resources, whenever that we have a set of engineers, technicians, technologies in an organization, we want to make sure that they keep on learning new things. I have to keep learning new things, 20 plus years in the industry, and I am still learning every single day. In order for me to actually, be in the digitalization business, I actually have to go through, Python courses and so on and so forth, so that I know what exactly is being done out there. It is really important because you are talking about machine learning. You are talking about creating algorithm, making sure that the algorithm that we use is correct and is what we really want. Fostering innovation is something related to what I was talking about, making us, the ASEAN countries, as a technology developer. And I think it is really important for us to do that in order not just for money, but also to bring up our engineers to the next level, to the level where we are the developer rather than just simply users. Yeah. So encouraging risk-taking and having a rewarding digital initiatives is really important, because this is where I wanted to make sure that our industry keep on growing and people know that they can make mistakes as long as it's you know how to mitigate those. In my line of work, mistakes will need to be reduced as much as possible, because mistakes basically can cost lives. So that's the reason why we have what we call as risk assessment, to make sure that we cover every single element there is. Yeah. All right, visionary leadership is really important, because whenever that I go into an organization, I have to talk to someone who believes that and digitalization is something that the organization needs. It is quite sad if you go into an organization and you don't have such leader that you can work with, because you will not have a successful implementation of any digitalization per se if you don't have a visionary leader who wants to navigate the digitalization challenges. And leaders' role in articulating the clear vision is really important, because that person will need to be the one communicating with all the resources available. And of course, integration of digital technologies into the company's strategic agenda is really important because we want to see everything in a big picture. Yeah? Digitalization, you cannot just simply do it in one department, in one sector of that industry. You will need to do it for the entire work process that is involved. Yeah? And I come to the conclusion of my talk. Well, digitalization is a transformative pathway in the oil and gas industry. It is really important because this is one of the things that will make an industry grow. Without new things, industry doesn't grow. It will just be like that, yeah? And whenever that an industry is just like that, it will not be making money and it will soon die, yeah? Addressing cultural and organizational barrier is crucial for successful implementation. As I was talking in the past 30 minutes, those cultural and organizational barriers are real. It's something that we want to actually address in order for the implementation to be successful. And of course, the importance of having a leader who actually will make sure that the project actually goes through. And as a parting word, the digitalization empowers the workforce, enhancing roles rather than replacing them. With that, I thank you.
Thank you, Engineer Razak Yakob. Now we would like to invite back to stage Engineer Vincent Tan and Engineer Razak to join Dr. Poso for the question and answer session. Over to you, Dr. Engineer Tan.
You should be in the middle.
Delegates may move forward towards the microphone to address their questions.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, both speakers are here. Engineer Razak, Dr. Poso, both gave very interesting topics, interesting papers, well presented. And I'm sure you have plenty of questions in your mind to ask. So if you have a question, please come to the front. There's a mic there and there's another mic there. Mention your name, mention where you're from, and then shoot your questions. And then which speaker you like to direct your question to. Yes, can I have the first question? Yes, yes, Alan, Engineer Alan Wong.
Thank you for the interesting presentations. My name is Alan, AW Sustainable Development. My question is to Engineer Razak. I overheard you mention about outdated when you're talking about this legacy system. Now, my question is related to your legacy system to the what's so-called the circular culture, for example, circular economy, where we want the thing to be last longer. Yeah, I give you an example. I have seen documentary about soya bean. I'm not sure how many of you are favorites of soya bean milk. So the Oriental style of doing soya bean milk is to grind, slow grinding. Compared to the now technology advanced, you grind just a few seconds you can get the soya bean grind, but the taste is different. So in actual fact is I always want to encourage, it's not pure digital technology, but we must also go back to the basic HI, human intelligence. So I believe all these are human intelligence to make the soybean milk so tasty by keeping back to the very basic way of stone grinding. Thank you.
Yeah, Engineer Razak is talking about soya bean. So maybe the ingredient in a soya bean is the operator sweat, you know.
Oh, let's not go
Okay,
there.
Razak, your answer,
Okay,
please.
thank you so much for the question. Yeah, um, as I mentioned earlier, technology, digitalization doesn't replaces human. You know, it elevates us to the next level. And but when we talk about the legacy system, we talk about a system which has been used for many, many years. And along the way, when technology develops, we basically would like to actually have a system which is more, how would say, more efficient, because whenever that you have efficiency, then you can reduce costs. For example, in well digitalization itself, when we talk about design, engineering applications, yeah, it was used initially, it was initially developed, designed for desktop, for example. Now, what we want to do is to have this application in the cloud, yeah? And whenever that we want to do that, the legacy system, if we were just to take the legacy system and put it on the cloud, the performance would not be the same. The same way as what you mentioned about the soya bean. If you grind it a little longer, the taste is much nicer. When you just zip like that, it is not as good. But the same way as well, when we take a look at legacy system, put it on the cloud, it will not work. Therefore, the new system will need to develop in the cloud, for the cloud, to be used in the cloud, anywhere around the world, at any point in time. I think I answered that question.
Yes, I think it's quite clear, yeah. And the same digitalization is also applicable in other engineering. For example, in the site investigation, in soil profile, I think your oil and gas also, you do a lot of geological.
Oh, yes, yes, we do
Those
that.
are also very important, yeah. It is an excellent way of doing it, yeah. Okay, can I invite the second questions from the audience? You can talk about generative AI in civil engineering education, particular application in the, yes, we have a question there.
Okay, good morning. I'm Jason from IEM Sabah.
Good afternoon.
Oh, sorry, good afternoon.
Yeah.
This question is directed to Dr. Poso on AI. So how do you see regenerative AI in education when it comes to eroding the fundamental understanding of certain engineering knowledge? For example, when it comes to aiding analytical solution, I think AI works very well, but without understanding the fundamental of the problem or of the knowledge, so it can be quite dangerous. What's your view on this?
Yeah, thank you for that question. Actually, I mentioned earlier that actually AI will never replace the people or the civil engineering, engineers or the professors themselves. The role of the faculty in teaching the students in terms of the foundation will always be there. You cannot actually just utilize AI per se that, okay, just tell your students, use the ChatGPT and learn the statics of rigid bodies. It doesn't work like that. As a faculty member in the institution, you still have that role to inculcate to the students the basic principles. The role now of AI, especially the generative AI or the ChatGPT per se, is that during the class discussion, for example, if it is a hybrid wherein they're always online setup, most of the students will always be, some of them will be just lying in their bed listening to your discussions. They just grasp some of the inputs that you actually explained. But then later on, even though you give, because in the Philippine setup, we always record the online teaching. Then we give them the recording. So there is the second. Then the third one is that I always tell them you can use that tool in looking into some other pointers that you want to explore more. For example, I teach them in terms of computing the reactions of trusses. Then they wanted to explore more. Some of the students nowadays will not just end up just learning, okay, I just computed the resultant force at this support and the resultant force at the other support. But then they wanted to explore more. That's how I see the students nowadays, that they have that level of eagerness to explore more. So that's why I always tell them the use of the generative AI, especially during their vacant time, wherein before, maybe students who are intelligent students, they just go to the library, then scan books. But now it's different. At any time, at any space, they can just click that link and they will learn everything that they want. More than that you had already explained. Thank you for the question. I hope I
Engineer
had
Vincent,
answered.
if I may
Yes,
add
sure.
a little bit more.
Yes, of course, you can.
I think the topic that Dr. Paso presented just now is really great. It is a great example of how AI actually helps. In all honesty, the paper that I wrote for this is actually done by the ChatGPT. Okay, but again, the ChatGPT will need to know what exactly are the things that I want to say. Yeah? And then you put those things together and then it generates something for you. And then you review that and then you will say, no, that's not what I want. I would like it to be like this, like this, like this. And then it will generate, you know, it is a process of interaction, kind of like with your PA, the more information that you give to the ChatGPT, the much better way it actually will give it to you. So if you read through the paper, that is actually a ChatGPT paper. But yeah, if I want to put something, my name on a paper, I have to make sure that those are the right things that I would like to say. Thank you.
I agree that much. Because as a professor, you should also have that time to explain to your students about ChatGPT. It will not just end up there saying, okay, use the tool. That's why part of the recommendation of this paper is for the institutions in the Philippines to come up with a draft of their ethical standards on the use of the ChatGPT. Because ChatGPT will just give you an answer based on the prompt that you type. But again, what Sir said, you have to be specific on that. Then you have to train also your students to validate, because ChatGPT will gather information in a bigger landscape, and sometimes it hallucinates because of the more information that it gives. So, for example, if you just want to ask something, then sometimes there are sentences there that are actually not in line with the one that they are asking. So, you have also to develop that attitude to the students.
Yeah, this is very interesting. Actually, Dr. Poso, when you are speaking, I just switch on my ChatGPT on my handphone, and then I type the question, how to design a foundation? And then it came out answers, 8 steps. And they are all very accurate. First, you start with soil investigation, determine foundation type, deep foundation, shallow foundation, then design calculation, foundation depth, and so on, and give you the steps. So in this case, I'm interested also to explore further in the Philippines, where you are already using AI in teaching in the civil engineering faculty. Would that make the students over-reliant on AI on their learning? That means they do not go down to the very basic foundation, understanding the basic engineering principle, rather than going to the basic theory and so on, just depend on ChatGPT, for example, on that. And number 2, in your Philippines assessment of your students. If all of them are using ChatGPT or AI in the examination, then all of them, the answers will come out the same. How do you assess which student is A, which student is B, and which student is C?
Yes.
This is something that we have. I think all of us are very interested to know how Philippines are tackling this sort
right.
of AI in education.
Yeah. Actually, it is now the strategy of the faculty who will be handling different subjects, because subjects, especially in the civil engineering curriculum, have different types. Some are mostly on discussion, wherein your project, before the AI, you will be asking case study, write an essay, answer to this essay type of question. Nowadays that we are having this AI, as a faculty, I will never ask my students to submit a summative assessment in terms of asking them why you choose civil engineering, why you love civil engineering, what specialization do you like? Because most definitely they will just have it in the generative AI. So you have to make more. That's now the training of the faculty should be given in terms of coming up with innovative teaching and learning methodologies and pedagogies, because we are already in a different era wherein just purely discussing is not anymore applicable to the younger age. And one of the initiatives that we have in the flexible learning when I was still in the other university, before I came, because at present I am now in a government university. So in a private one, we utilize the flexible learning wherein the interaction are actually encouraged. It actually, the materials are already given right in the Canvas platform, in the LMS platform. Then the students should study the materials a week before. And the students are now encouraged to use the different AI to learn more and to explore more what are their thoughts and additional or advanced thinkings about the topic, so that when we go back to the classroom during the face-to-face setup, it's a different setup of learning wherein there will be no chalk talk discussion. It will be an interactive wherein students will be asking the professors about what they have learned.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
So it's just one. I'm not saying that it could be applied to all setup, because of course the homogeneity of the students in the classroom is not that actually much that you can say all of them have the same level of intelligence. I am now working in a university wherein the students are all scholars and they have high level of intelligence. So I can say that it could be applicable, and I think that method is good. But then I just don't think so if it is in the rural areas. Because I also teach in one of the university in a far-flung town in the Philippines. And during the pandemic, they don't have the platform until now. They just use Messenger to actually have the online classes. So that's the reason why I really wanted to explore more about this study and expanding it to the different types of institutions.
Okay. Any more questions?
We have one question.
It's not a question, but something that I wish to share following after the talk of Engineer Razak. You know, I think I am very, very fortunate to have gone through the full range of experience that I started actually taking engineering using slide rule, if you know the slide rule, right? And then when I was in 5th year, I saw my friend use Texas Instrument Calculator, programmable calculator, and I can only buy Casio F5, if I remember the number, which doesn't have any scientific, programming. Today, I think I was impressed by what Engineer Razak has said. After having 40 years of experience in the industry introducing new things like today, AI, digitalization, so on. I just would like to highlight that one because I'm very impressed by that one. That this development, this technological development are not there to replace human intelligence. They are not there to replace people, but they are there to make life easier for us. I remember asking one person who was doing a Bentley structural analysis of a 16-story building. I said, can I remove one of the steel bars in one of the columns? And he said, yes, we can. And then he removed one of the steel bars in the model. And I saw a part of the 16-story building, turning into red. And then I asked what happened. And he said, the building will collapse if I'm going to take that 16-millimeter steel bar from out of the, one of the columns. And then I said, that's what I mean, If I'm going to do that manually, maybe I'm going to do that for 1 week, trying to calculate, take out one of the steel bars and calculate whether the building will collapse or not. And so, thank you very much, Engineer Razak, for making sure that what I personally believe in as well is what you have highlighted very much. While it is very difficult for some people to accept changes, and you said you continue learning even every time you do something, you are still learning. And I do the same thing. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you for the statement. Thank you for the statement. Any other questions or statement? Yes, the gentleman, then the lady. Gentleman first, then the lady.
Okay. Thanks for the opportunity. I'm Alpha from Indonesia. The question is for Dr. Poso. It is interesting topic using AI in education. So my question is current education system still relevant? And should the current method of teaching, maybe in your university or in Philippines, be changed? Second question is to Engineer Razak. So what is the biggest challenge to implement digitalization in your organization? Thank you.
Okay. Thank
You
you.
want to start
First question,
Okay.
you got a question?
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you, sir, for that question. I think at present in the Philippines, the current curriculum, I can say only for the civil engineering, because the one that gives the mandate is the Commission on Higher Education. And for them, they can see that the curriculum at present is still relevant. The only problem there is how we actually implement the teaching and learning pedagogies. But the curriculum itself is still okay in terms of addressing the need of the industry and the need of times, especially that we are in this era of digitalization. I actually just attended last week Quantity Surveyor Summit, and one of the speakers, because it talks about the digitalization of the civil engineering in terms of estimating. And the speaker had asked all the audience who are here still using the triangular scale. And still majority are actually raising their hands that they are still using the triangular scale, when in fact we have different tools in terms of estimating. So the question there, are those basic principles in terms of estimating, can we consider it obsolete? In my case, as I teach fluids and hydraulics because I am into water resources, my university now doesn't have that luxury to have those innovative equipments and apparatus. But then I still go back. When I teach them how to measure discharge, I will ask them to go back to your home, then open the faucet, then you have the measure, determine the volume and the time, and you have that discharge. So I think we have to just connect those of the old principle and the current tool that we have. I believe the curriculum that we have, maybe I can say it in the whole context of the whole of the Philippine civil engineering curriculum that is still relevant, only that the institution should come up with innovative in terms of coming up with the different styles of teaching and learning pedagogy, which should be in line with what the industry needs at this moment.
Yep. Thank you. Thank you. And Razak?
Yeah, I will address the second question, which regards to the challenges. What's the biggest challenges in the digitalization or digitalization per se? I would say the biggest challenge that I have would be lack of digital skills. The reason is because it involves money. Because whenever that you want to retrain your resources, it will cost money. And whenever that we talk about cost, it is always something that you will need to convince the management that it is necessary. I have come from the generation where whenever that we do the data management, for example, drilling data management is really, really important because drilling activities actually do a lot of documentation, So every single thing that happens on the rig will need to be documented. And this was done in writing during the 80s, So when I started working in the 90s, I just gave away my age, isn't it? Oh my God.
It's,
Okay.
it's all right. You look young.
Okay, so when I started working in the 90s, part of the biggest thing it was to teach, to teach digital skills to drilling supervisors, and some of these drilling supervisors, their fingers is bigger than the keyboard key, so they would be going like that, like that, like that. Well, that was in the 90s. But nowadays, it's a different kind of challenges because right now is making people understand about what clouds is, because clouds is not something that is tangible that people can see or people can understand. So that's the lack of digital skills would be the thing that I would say the biggest challenge to teach people, as well as the cost that goes along with it. Thank you.
Thank you, Razak. Yeah, we have 4 more minutes. Can I have the lady? Yes. We have 4 minutes.
Assalamualaikum and good afternoon. I'm Umi from Sabah. So one of my questions is actually related to the previous questions, but I would like to know more in detail how you're going to tackle that issues about teaching others about the cloud-based system, because I do understand each of us has a different skill set. So that's one. So another one that I wanted to ask is about the data security that you implement in your cloud base. So that's all.
Yeah,
Thank
those are
you.
for Razak, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, but I will tackle the first question first, which is about how to make people understand what cloud is. That is actually, first and foremost, I would go back to the basics. In engineering per se, we will need to make them understand how the current system actually works and what is the benefit of putting it over on the clouds, and what does it mean when we put all of the data, not just the data, but also the application on the clouds. Why basically we want to do that? making people understand that is more important than what exactly cloud is. Because to them, understanding why basically putting applications and data on the clouds would be the, the thing to go for now and also the future. Yeah. So that is question number one. And question number two is about security. Yes. When we talk about oil and gas industry, and we will talk about especially drilling information, how we manage the data in terms of security is really, really important. Whatever information that we gather from the field can really actually cost millions and millions of dollars, because it can actually change how people buy or sell or trades in the market. All of this information are really, really secured and something that you need to be sensitive about. Being in the industry for more than 20 years, I know that is a concern with my clients. So making them understand what are the security systems that we actually have, and how is it possible at all for an outsiders to come over, and is it just about getting that login and password in order for them to get those information? That's the reason why as well right now, if you take a look at banking system, you will have to go through a few authentication process. If you use Microsoft applications, for example, you have to go through Microsoft Authenticator. So when we deal with information from the client, which are really sensitive, we have those security systems embedded into the applications that resides on the cloud. All right, thank you.
Excellent.
Thank you.
And on the time, we have 15 seconds.
15 seconds.
I'm sure there are many, many more questions in your burning minds on these two very interesting and very, very intellectual topics. And unfortunately, the time now is flashing 0 to me. And speakers are here. They'll be here. And later on, we are adjourning for lunch, right? So you can keep your questions for lunch and look for these two speakers. And I must thank both of you for making these two topics so very much interesting. And we even run almost out of time of allocated for us for questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Engineer Vincent Tan, Engineer Razak Yakob, and Dr. Florento Di Pozo. Now we would like to invite Engineer Vincent Tan to present memento to the two speakers.